Welcome back to episode 2 of the Sons of Pitches podcast. We got a couple of the boys here today. It's me, Nate. We got Ange. We got G. We got Pat. Special episode for you guys. We're doing the European wrap-up. We're going to look at the UCL, the Europa League, and the Conference League. All the group stage just ended. Talk about who's in the round of 16. Some big surprises, maybe. Some crazy flops. We're going to find out. Starting with the Champions League, obviously. Someone shoot out the biggest game of this week. What do you think? Either a flop or a top?
Well, I think we got to talk to our good friend Patrick over here about United first. I think it's only right.
I know, huh? Bottom of the group. Very surprising.
Always putting them on the spot. It's 2 episodes in a row.
Unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, but
it's the nature of the business.
United aren't helping them out.
Yeah. I also saw a stat before I digress to United and my pain that this is the first time that two Premier League teams has finished bottom of the group.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Really?
So that is I saw that on X. Shout out. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. I didn't really expect that. I figured it would have been done before, but yeah, United blow obviously. I wanted Amrabat and Fabinho together, and they started McTominay, and McTominay played like a fucking idiot. Dalot, selfish per usual. I don't know. Everybody wants to get rid of the manager. I just think that Højlund looked out of shape, but we didn't have anybody else to play the 9. I mean, you look ahead to Saturday at Liverpool, we have nobody available to play. I mean, almost every single one of our starters is out besides, maybe 2 or 3. I was expecting us to lose, but again, Onana on a mistake with a goal, right? Jumps ahead to the left for no reason on a one-on-one. Like, why can't he just stand his ground and give Coman a chance to at least miss, because he's not the best finisher in the planet, but once Onana jumps left, I could have scored, right? So, I mean, I didn't think we played that bad. I think that we just didn't create enough chances. I mean, Bruno had a great chance at the top of the box. He skied it probably into the second deck, right?
Naturally, yeah.
How can they square him the ball as the captain and him sky it and then get mad? I get it, he's mad at himself, but, you got to challenge the keeper at least.
He's trying, yeah.
I mean, like we talked about in the last episode, Neuer let how many past him? He played bad. So, how can, after that, Man U say, yeah, let's not pepper him with any shots? I mean, nobody played good. Garnacho didn't play good. Amrabat has the touch of, I don't even know what to compare it to. His touch is absolutely atrocious. Literally, probably playing with snow boots on, I mean, it was just embarrassing to watch, it was 0-0 for such a long time, and I really thought, maybe we had a chance, and then, Copenhagen scored. And it was kind of like, all right, I thought it was a nail in the coffin once Copenhagen scored because I figured that Galatasaray wasn't going to try hard enough to actually score a goal, which I was correct because I watched a little bit of the game and they didn't really look like themselves, like how they looked against us. Of course, unlucky, but I just, the quality is just not there at the moment. Really, I honestly think it's deserving to be bottom of the group. I don't really think that we deserve the chance to play in Europa League. I don't really want to see us play in Europa League because I don't think that I just don't think we deserve. I think we made too many mistakes, and with all the injuries out too, even if we did make it, we would probably go out in the first round anyway.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So it's interesting because you said it's embarrassing, which I mean, my opinion matters less because you're more of a United fan. But I was talking to my cousin, and he actually thought United played one of the better games they played this season. Not that that's saying too much based on results, but he pointed out the biggest issue you mentioned, injuries, is the fact that United probably, if you look at the games, there hasn't been maybe more than 2 or 3 times where they played the same center back pairing, the same defensive back 4, the same midfield setup, the same front 3, and there's an issue where there's injuries, but also Ten Hag doesn't feel like he can pick a starting 11, and then there's no team cohesion. Varane and Harry Maguire.
made a fullback sub at halftime too. Wan-Bissaka came on. I thought he was the best defender.
Yeah, I think
To be
Luke Shaw
honest, I
caught
thought
an
he had a
injury,
great
but
45 minutes.
yeah.
He did. Luke Shaw got hurt, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Maguire
Yeah.
got hurt too. So yeah, it's a story of injuries. But at the same time, when you have healthy players, he's benching Varane for disciplinary issues, and honestly, everybody jokes about Harry Maguire, but he's had a decent beginning of the season, and then he fields him.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
Harry
so
Maguire's
Varane
made
played.
a comeback, but
My
So-
couple takeaways from this game. I mean, like you said, Pat, they were just crap going forward. I mean, one shot on goal the whole game, and it came in the 23rd minute from Luke Shaw. Like that's not great when you're
and it wasn't even a fucking. It wasn't even a good shot. He literally
It
hit
wasn't.
it
It was
because
straight
the
at
crowd
Neuer,
was
and
telling him to shoot. The crowd yelled shoot, and he shot it, and Neuer punched it into the air. That was
Exactly.
it. That's the highlight of the whole entire match for us. Like you said.
You know, from both these games, I mean, even in the game in Munich, I don't think United played bad in either of these games. They were probably the better team, but they still came away with nothing in either game. And I think that just shows you the place that United's in right now. Like, it's just not a good spot.
lacks cohesion, definitely. I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Onana's at blame for the first game. I think I wouldn't say he's at blame for the second game, even though he did jump early. Like, you can't just blame the goalkeeper.
I agree.
I mean, Maguire going out, who's in, incredible form to me. I mean, he played fine up until he hurt his groin, and then he had to come out for Johnny Evans, right? So the other thing is that I like to point out is, Ten Hag wanted all these players, and he couldn't get them. He wanted Kim Min-jae, who actually plays for Bayern, who had an outstanding game. Maguire gets hurt, and we have to sub in Johnny Evans, who we got on a free. On basically free transfer because we didn't have any center backs. Because once Licha got hurt, we didn't really have anybody else. And then I thought he played great. Kim Min-jae, he was all over the place, which is great to see. I wish we would have got him, but not much you can do there. I mean, it's just like you said. We played good in the first game. Ten Hag coached us to win. Onana made 2 mistakes that cost us huge, right? And we're down 2-0. And then we come back, we score 2 goals to their 1 once Onana stops making mistakes. So basically, without Onana's mistakes, we win 2-1. And then I think a draw would have been sufficient in the game on Tuesday. But, obviously we didn't get it because Onana wants to jump early. I get it. Onana was one of the best goalkeepers in the Champions League last year, went all the way to the final. I do get it, and I understand why, the fee was paid for him. He was one of the best goalkeepers in the world as far as I'm concerned last year. I thought he played great. Now it's kind of hard to explain as to what's going on because, I don't have him here to ask him what he's doing or why he's making all these mistakes, but it's just, I think it's unfortunate as the team, and I think as a group, everybody's kind of demoralized and maybe not as confident as they were last season or at the beginning of the year. So we're kind of in a weird spot. But like you said, the injuries are a major impact. I mean, like I said, moving forward to Saturday is huge. We have like 10 players out.
Yeah.
So we're gonna field basically. We're gonna have to field Hannibal as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we're gonna have to field Johnny Evans as a starter. So that just puts into perspective where we're at as a team.
Yeah, you used the word. Let me. I want to give my piece on the game because I watched the game. This is honestly, I watched this game more closely than I watched the Milan game. I was pretty intrigued by the lineup. I wanted to see how United would come out, and I'm going to speak a little positively about United. I thought they actually, like we all said, I thought they fielded a pretty good 11, and I thought they had a great plan. I think when Upamecano and Kim Min-jae had the ball in Bayern's half, it was Bruno and Højlund playing as a 2-striker with McTominay furthest forward of the 3. I thought they pressed really well. They kind of made it hard for Bayern to play in between the lines. It was really only up until the goal was scored that they started having some little intricate play. Musiala picking up the ball to the left, dribbling to the right side of the field, and that was really when they started dragging players out of position. I think the thing that was disheartening probably for a United fan, and I could see it watching it as a neutral, was you're at home, it's a must-win game, it's 0-0, 70 minutes. Where's the extra desire? They're playing at home. Nobody is pumping up the crowd. There really wasn't this back against the wall there really wasn't this back against the wall type energy, and I wonder if it's because they saw on paper going to the game like, fuck, Bayern's coming to town on the last game, so I guess we have no chance. It almost looked like they went out there knowing that no matter how they set up, they were going to get beat. And I question that. I mean, they run hard. They showed hard. I'm not going to sit here and say that they didn't give a shit about the game. Of course they did. They're going to play to win. They're going to play to win every game. But the one thing watching as a neutral was, I don't know. I just there wasn't enough shots from range. You brought up Neuer. Neuer wasn't even tested. I mean, it really was that one shot. I understand. On the day, Bayern are a better team. United got outdone by a better team, but I'll be a little positive. I thought they set up pretty well. I think they made it hard for Bayern to play. I mean, really, even the goal, Wan-Bissaka is a little. It's just if you look at the replay, he's so far off the back line. There's so much space that he leaves. He's the deepest one, but it's like, to go back what Nate said. He made a great point that it's always a makeshift back line. How are they going to ever have a ton of chemistry to play off of? There's no one really to lead, so.
Dude,
I don't know.
we know
what it is.
The three of us have played center back. G behind us, when we were kids,
Mm-hmm.
and we know, dude, that chemistry, that cohesion at the center back position, that defensive back line, that is everything for a team. Me and Pat, Ange, we're coaching the team. You know what I mean? G's quarterbacking from the net, that is everything. You see the field, and if you don't have cohesion, you don't have someone who's a leader. You don't have someone who can read the game. And there's just, like you said, Andrew, there's just no energy. Even though, and like you said, that Bayern had the better team, I don't know. I feel like Sané kind of put a lot in the back. I mean, on paper, the team rating doesn't really say that. But I think Sané was probably their most effective player. But you have Garnacho and Anthony, who, jokes aside, Anthony doing swirls or whatever, great players on the ball, can be creative, but there's no finishing product. Like you said, nobody tested Neuer because they can't shoot, dude. They don't have legs.
Anthony had a pretty good first half as well, and he had a chance in the first half to do his, I don't know if we can even call it a trademark because he scores it 1 out of probably 10 times, but where he likes to wrap his left foot around the ball. Yeah. But he had a chance to do it. It went on the stands. I don't know. They didn't really. I think that has to be the most disheartening thing, is that they really did set up well to defend Bayern.
Yeah.
But they must have just thought, hey, maybe we'll nick a goal off a corner kick or a free kick, and we'll win the game 1-0. Obviously, it was the reverse result, and it is what it is, but I wouldn't be too disheartened if I was a United fan going into the Liverpool game. I thought they showed good signs, so we'll see.
I agree. Before we move on, I just wanted to give a couple stats I saw, and I wanted to give my perspective after Pat gave that point about Onana being the goalkeeper here. But United have lost 12 of their 24 games already in all competitions this season, which is kind of crazy. And they set another bad first, guys. They have conceded 15 UCL goals in all competitions. They're 15 UCL goals, excuse me, and they're the first English club to do that, which is another bad stat for them. And touching on Onana, like you said about the chemistry and having the different people. For me, from my perspective, I mean, I had you and Patrick in front of me almost every game I played in goal for about 10 years straight. Yeah. So I didn't even have to look. I always knew where you guys were. I didn't have to tell you guys. I just knew. I knew what you guys were gonna do. It just helped. Yeah. Reading the game. Yeah. And also, as far as I know about Onana, he's a good keeper. I've seen a lot of him, especially being in Serie A and when he was at Ajax before. I always rated him as a keeper. His style is not my type. He gives me a lot of agita though when he brings the ball forward and walks out and takes his time. But I have to say, I think that he's he looks like a very emotional guy to me, and I think that's detrimental to him as a goalkeeper. You need to be able to keep your head. You need to be very single-minded. And I know he's been kicked out of the Cameroon squad before for his attitude and stuff like that. And especially having all this heat on and being at United, I just don't think it's helping. And I don't think this is the environment for a goalkeeper with that kind of mindset. So I can't see things turning around for him anytime soon.
The amount of drama, what's going on with the club, and how much fighting they do within each other. Yeah,
and you can see when he makes a mistake, he's down right away. He puts his head down. You can't do that as a goalkeeper.
He's a confidence.
You have to forget about it. It has to go right out of your mind. It has to be forgotten, like it never even happened. You just move on.
Yeah.
So that's what I had to say about that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Bayern come out the top of the group, which Ange said he predicted them to win the UCL, so I guess it's not surprising. United surprisingly finished last. Group B, nothing too interesting. Arsenal topped the group probably as most people would have predicted. PSV and Lens both got the results they wanted, finishing second and third with Sevilla. Just also not playing good in La Liga, so they finished last.
Yeah, I
Ronaldo
wanted to touch
up to
on
his
that,
old antics
actually.
in that game.
You have something to say about that? Yeah, I was going to brush by it, but if you got something, go for it.
Just really quick, I would say that, like, Sevilla has done so good in Europe over the
Yeah.
past 10 years. Like,
Mhm.
for them not to even be competing in Europe is actually crazy to me. Just because, like, their team has changed, sure, but, like, it's relatively minus a couple players the same team as last year. So it's just very odd that
Yeah.
now they're not competing in Europe. And I just wanted to touch on that because obviously they've beat us in the Europa League final
Yeah.
last couple of years, like at least
true.
once. So it's just very surreal to see. Like, I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting that at all. So
Yeah, if you look at their league, they're like 16th in the league. They're just having
Yeah,
a
they've
rough
been
year.
struggling this year a lot.
There must be something
They sacked
missing
their
in
manager.
that room.
yeah,
Yeah.
Unai Emery's missing. That's what's missing right
It
there. And look
is.
how good he's doing. So
Yeah.
For sure.
Moving on to Group C, we had an interesting matchup with Braga and Napoli, which that game, even though on paper, people would feel like Napoli would be the stronger side, Braga being about the fourth biggest club in Portugal. They put up a good fight, I think, this campaign. Fortunately, they didn't get it done on the last day. Real Madrid blew through that group. Anybody have anything to say about that group before we brush by it?
I just wanted to say Braga's play throughout the whole group stage really impressed me.
Yeah.
Just their movement and the quickness of their passing. Everything's one touch, two touch.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do all the time, and it seems like a very well coached group of players.
Yeah.
No matter who's playing, even when the squad's rotated. So
Yeah.
I think they're a team to look out for.
Yeah. I don't remember what the reverse fixture was, but maybe if that last game's at home, they have the crowd backing them. They do play some expressive football. We talked about it in the first episode about their transfer window was pretty good. So they tried. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say they did try, and they had a pretty good opening to the game, but when you score an own goal as comical as the one that they scored, I think at that point all confidence is lost, and they knew what they were up against.
Yeah. But I mean, dude, Europa League spots are respectable. Speaking of Portuguese Europa League spot, we go to Group D, where Benfica finally, I think, end an abysmal European campaign. They just did.
Yep.
I mean, they started with 4 losses, and then to pull out. I mean, Salzburg just didn't have a great run either, but to pull out and then actually make the Europa League spot is good for them at that point. That game was pretty good. I wanted to touch on that.
Me too.
Again, so I watched the game. I also got my cousin George, big Benfica fan, got some ideas off him. And again, I just saw a Benfica that was very good at creating chances and then missing them. Rafa, but it's tough because Rafa's not that kind of player. Yeah, he misses probably some sitter chances, and yeah, like you're a professional, you're a forward, you got to score. But he's not a poacher. You know what I mean? That's the 10-step who should be playing that upper 9. And I noticed he would go out wide. My cousin made a point that he would drift out wide, so there's nobody really strong and holding that 9 position. And so there's they create all this width and all this creation. Di Maria had a fantastic game, scored that. Oh my God, off the corner was phenomenal. Caught the goalkeeper sleeping. But it just feels like, I mean, they win 3-1, right? You score 3 goals, you have creators, but it just feels like they could have blown them out. Salzburg just didn't have it defensively, and that could have been a 5, 6, 7, 8 goal game, you know what I mean, if they had poachers.
Yeah, I agree. From what I saw of this game, like you said, they just really, again, they had no finish.
Yeah.
I feel like they're missing that type of player, either almost like, I hate to say it because he's a Porto player and Benfica fans are going to hate it, but if they had a Taremi up top, he would score 3-4 goals a game.
Victor Gyökeres, bro. The player that Arthur Cabral should be, but he's not, and he scores.
If they had that type of player up top.
Fucking 0 to hero, but dude, all that locker room bullshit. That one goal, they were happy that night, Benfica fans, but dude, he may think he's out of the clear, but he's not, dude.
I mean, even if they had a Bas Dost, he'd be scoring 3 a game.
Dude,
right.
and let's just go into Benfica history. If they had a Jonas, dude, Jonas was a baller up top for them.
Example.
Unit, and they're missing that. I think they're missing that because I'd be
Like
scared,
I said,
honestly,
not a
in the
pure
league
nine.
if it was that. I mean,
He's
Benfica
a
are a
winger
good team,
now.
but I would be frightened every time Benfica come to Lisbon. Oh, they live in Lisbon.
Yeah.
To Alvalade.
And Di Maria was magical in this game. It was a vintage performance from him. I mean, he did everything. I have a couple of stats from him here, actually. Let me pull them up.
And that's, while you pull him up, that's why they brought him. You know what I mean? He's aging. He's older. He's not here to win the Portuguese. He's here to give European presence.
He came back to the club that started his career,
Right.
and he won a man of the match in Europe, which
he had
know enough about his quality.
That was the point. Yeah.
And Di Maria had 88 touches. He completed 34 of 43 passes. He created 4 chances. He had a goal and an assist in the game, and he played the whole game as well.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm gonna burst the bubble here. Unfortunately, I was actually going to be a little critical of Di Maria. Where has he been? I mean, this is the fifth start. This is the fifth start out of 5, and exactly what you said, Nate. This is the player that they got him on a free.
Yeah.
He's not, like you said, he's not coming to win the Portuguese league. He's coming to compete in Europe to help this team take the next step. This is a squad that was in the Champions League quarterfinals. When you bring in a world-class player like Di Maria, you expect him to propel you, and unfortunately, it was too little, too late for them to qualify for the last 16. They are in the Europa League, so it remains to be seen if they make a run. But I was actually thinking kind of the opposite. I mean, I'll give him his praise as well. Di Maria is, of course, one of the best wingers that we'll see play this decade, maybe in history. I mean, he's a very underrated player, but I was actually kind of disappointed in his contribution. I was looking through the stats now. I mean, it's his first goal and first assist this campaign in the Champions League, so it is what it is.
I totally agree.
I mean, I was speaking on the game just...
Of course,
as a singular game, of course.
You're right. Even from what I've seen of the league games for Benfica, I don't think he's really done much so far yet.
Not totally, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their results in the Champions League. I mean, 1-0 loss at home to Sociedad. Di Maria can be the player to unlock a goal in that game. Yeah. They went to Inter and only lost 1-0 too. I mean, that's a Serie A league leaders, so they were close. We'll see if they make a Europa League run.
They got to get through the playoffs.
It's interesting. Before
he played better for Argentina, so
right.
It just goes to show, right? He just came off a monster World Cup, and then
he still has it.
Benfica and does nothing, just like he did at Juventus, did nothing, right? And then he plays good in the Copa America. So
United,
but at some of the places he performs, he also has people that finish. You know what I mean? Maybe that's maybe that's what's missing. But it's true, he could perform much better. It's interesting. I noted before we move on for this group, I was talking to G earlier. It was something like 26 goals in this group. That's 12 games is like about 2 goals a game. Like, it was a low scoring group. If you look at Real Madrid scored 16 by themselves. That's 10 off the entire group. This group
observation, bro.
This group was like a very low scoring group. There's going to be another one I really want to point out. I talked to G earlier about it. We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll go to Group E.
Hold on, one sec before we move on. I just wanted to say, I don't know if you guys have thought about any dark horses for the next round of games in the round of 16, but I just wanted to shout out Sociedad. I think they're going to be, if they get a favorable draw, I think if they can avoid PSG, they could be looking at a decent little run.
Yeah.
They're a tough little team to play against. They have a good style of play. They're strong defensively. They only conceded 2 goals in the whole knockout in the whole group stage. Excuse me. So I think they could be a team to watch out for next round and going forward in this tournament.
Yeah, with that 1 seed, they could favor it. Going to the next group, nothing too crazy, I think, on the last match day, if I remember correctly, in terms of group pole position change. Atletico Madrid, surprising though, we know them, Simeone ball, anti-football, defensive, and they scored 17 goals, one of the highest goal scoring teams in the group stage. That was interesting.
Bit of a renaissance. 2 clubs, to be honest, I really could care less about. Not even gonna lie, I've never really been a Lazio fan. I like the dark outside of Atletico Madrid. We'll see if I was a bit of a player like that myself, but I don't know, something about them. They tend to bore out a game, but yeah, we'll see. Simeone's he's no mug when it comes to the Champions League. To be honest, I wouldn't want to draw them in the opening round. They know what to do.
Not a simple fixture. Yeah, exactly. They know how to play, especially in Madrid, for sure.
For this game, I just wanted to say I don't have anything to say about Lazio because I don't respect them at all. But as far as Atletico Madrid goes, I mean, they've won 20 consecutive games at home in all competitions. Griezmann's been balling out this season. He's back to his best. He's doing it in both competitions in La Liga and in the Champions League for them. And I was talking to Nate about this earlier. I don't know if you guys saw this from the game, but Memphis Depay had one of the funniest attempts at I don't even know what you would call it, like a somersault kick or what it was, but basically the ball came to him and he took a first touch that bounced up and it was behind him, and his first reaction was to try to do a somersault and kick it, and he failed epically. It was just pure comedy, and I managed to see that live, and I was laughing so hard. So I just wanted to point that out. And if you guys get a chance, it's in the Champions League highlights on YouTube, so you can actually see it.
Anybody watching this, absolute goofball. Look up the highlights of the Let's Go Lazio game right before they scored the second goal. Idiotic, but he tried.
It was hilarious.
He tried.
I just wanted to touch on one more thing for the group. I thought Maurizio Sarri, the Lazio manager, made actually an interesting comment. He was asked after the game when they qualified who he'd like to draw. His answer was Barcelona.
Really?
Said he's never coached them in his career. He's been around a long time. He said he would like the opportunity to coach at the Camp Nou. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. Big words.
Yeah, and if he takes them and makes
he also I don't know if you saw the rest of that press conference, but he also said that he didn't think the team is ready to be in the Champions League at all.
The Lazio team?
So,
really?
His personal team.
Yeah.
So after saying he wants to draw Barcelona, one of the most historic teams in the Champions League, he's like, yeah, by the way, I don't think we're ready to be here. So
that's dope.
Nice. Group F. So Group F, Group of Death. Obviously, Ange has a stake in that group with Milan in there. Before we got into the games this week, I wanted to know. I noted this to G. I was just mentioning it. This was the lowest scoring group, I'm pretty sure, or at least tied for it, 26 or 27 goals. It clearly shows. I mean, watching some of the games in this group, it clearly shows that the players knew, the club knew that they were in the group of death, and not a single one of those clubs, I felt like, really took it by the balls and wanted to go at it. They all played timid. They knew what they were playing for. Which, I mean, there was some exciting games, but, I mean, as far as goals scored, just not it. But how did you feel about the last day?
Well, I think it was, you summed it up well. I think it was as group of death as a group of death comes, because I certainly had no idea what to expect. My takeaway from the individual match, I thought Milan showed their European experience. We had to go to a tough location. Going away to Newcastle is no joke. I know they're not seasoned in the Champions League, but I certainly wasn't excited when we saw the draw initially. Yeah. I know I replied to my own text in the group chat saying I already know that somebody's going to have to go to Newcastle on the last day, and it's going to be an elimination game. It's exactly what it was. I was worried in the first half. I thought Milan didn't really show their true colors. It seems like we rarely do on the European stage. And somebody who rarely shows his colors but did, I want to give a shout out to Fikayo Tomori. I'll do my player shout out now. I thought he was unbelievable. He was man of the match. As someone who's been watching Milan for a long time, Tomori was a player who always really excited me, and he's someone who for some reason I always cheer a little harder for him. I like his story. You know, he didn't make it in the Chelsea team. He's never really gotten a foothold in the English national team, and this is the third occasion now that he's played an English team on a European stage, on a stage where Premier League fans are actually going to pay attention. Hopefully the England manager as well, and he finally showed how good he can play. Of course, he was at the end of a 3-0 loss to Chelsea where he was red carded. Whether it was unjust, I thought it was unjust, but we'll let it go. He was pretty timid last year in the round of 16 against Spurs, a couple mistakes, but hopefully it's something that can propel his England career. When Joelinton scored, I'm going to be honest, it looked kind of bleak for us. I wasn't sure what to expect.
Great goal.
But I give a lot of credit to Pioli. I know a lot of fans on Milan Twitter were calling for his head. They said, we're either going to lose and Pioli will get fired, or we're going to win the game and Pioli will keep his job, but we'll see. I didn't think he would be in the hot seat anyway, but I'm going to give the manager credit. He went for it. I think he made the right substitutions. He went attacking. He took Giroud off. He wasn't afraid of it at all. And we got the result. I think I I think we fairly won the game in the second half. I think we showed our ability to defend, and it really could have been 3 or 4 goals to Milan. Leao, shades of Niang at the new camp. I thought I was 13 again, watching Niang run through and smash the post. I thought, here we go again, we're going to tie. Something that you brought up, Gianluca, that I wanted to touch on, Mike Maignan, the confidence that he instills in this team. I think if he doesn't make that save against Bruno Guimaraes, obviously we would have went down 2-1 in the game. But I think when you see your goalkeeper make a save like that, I think that was exactly what we needed to galvanize the team, to give them the belief that, hey, you know what, like, we're in this game, we can get a result. I thought he was outstanding, and I think he was a pillar of confidence in the team. It's very easy to say if that goal goes in that we don't score a second and a third goal to win the game. But as soon as he made that save, I said, I think we're going to be all right. Then Leao had his chance. You could see the belief in the team. I was pretty happy. We held up our end of the deal. We'll go into the other game of the group. I can break it down because I did watch that as well. For those who don't know, Milan needed to win. Yes, go.
Before you move on, I just wanted to piggyback off what you said about Maignan.
Okay, yeah.
I know you and me have had this running joke lately that his right calf is gone.
If it was shot to his right side, it would have been in.
But I actually, to be honest with you, I was impressed with him this game. I think since he's returned from his little injury spells, I think this was the first game that we saw the real Mike Maignan again.
Yeah, he looked good.
I thought he was very good in this game. That save from Bruno Guimaraes was world class. That was one of the best saves I've seen in a very, very long time.
Didn't even see it.
To tip it up, you have to think too. He's not close when he makes that save. His hand is not close to the crossbar, and to have that amount of strength in his hand to lift the ball up to get it onto the crossbar like that. That's world class. Like, not a lot of goalkeepers in the world are saving that, and he certainly proved his worth on that save. And
yeah.
It changed the game for Milan. I mean, I don't think they win the game if he doesn't make that save.
No, I completely agree. I think he had his best game in a must-win game, so it was good to see. But yeah, if we're going to go into Dortmund PSG, Milan, we held up our end of the bargain. We did get the win that we needed, but the Dortmund PSG game was unbelievable. It was back and forth, a roller coaster, exactly what you would think Dortmund PSG would be. Just not to say there was no defending, because there was a moment of brilliance from Nicolas Sula, who had a wonderful goal line clearance. But it is what it was. It was a good game. It was a 1-1 draw, so we'll see Dortmund and PSG advance. The only other thing I wanted to say that is a little disheartening, being a Milan fan, is I thought Pioli summed it up well. He said that even he knows his team right now isn't really playing to the best of their ability, and it's kind of what I said last week. You know, if you look at the Serie A table, you'd say, Milan are in third place. But if you look at the big games, we got embarrassed in France. We got our pants pulled down at home by Dortmund this campaign in the Champions League. It took us 4 games to score a goal, and Nate brought it up as well. We were the second lowest scoring team in the Champions League. The only team that had scored lower was Salzburg. There was a couple other teams that scored 6 goals, but for the opening 3 games, for us to not even score, the opening 2 games being 0-0, was a little disheartening, because I didn't really expect us to keep clean sheets against Dortmund and Newcastle at least once, and they did that. So, I don't know. It is what it was. I think if I think back to the summer, it might be the lack of investment at the forward number 9 position coming back to bite us, but at least in recent times, it seems like Luka Jovic is going to make an impact. He was great off the bench again. He was integral in the winning goal. But yeah, we'll see what's to come of Milan. I'm glad that we're in the Europa League. I think it's a good confidence builder for the squad, and we'll see how we kick on.
Absolutely.
I think before we move on, I just wanted to say a couple of things about this group. For PSG, I saw something pretty interesting about their team. The average age of their starting lineup was only 24 years old. I think that's pretty actually crazy to go with that much youth in a game of that much importance. And
you bring up youth as well. I wanted to you made me think of, there was a couple great teenager performances on matchday 6. Zaire Emery with the goal, and if I'm going to be honest, I thought Lewis Miley was arguably Newcastle's best player. He showed zero fear. His first Champions League start of his career. You can correct me on that. I'm not 100% sure.
He's the youngest English player to assist.
17 years old.
He broke Leo Walcott's record.
He was excellent. He made Milan's midfield look timid in the first half. Someone like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who in my opinion should be bossing around a 17-year-old with no experience, was pretty much a shadow. I thought Miley was unbelievable. It was a fun group for sure.
I wanted to say I don't think any Dortmund fans would have expected when they saw this draw at the beginning of the season that they were going to finish where they finished in this group.
Right.
And
no credit to them. I think like Nate, not to cut you off, but like what Nate was saying earlier, a lot of the teams played kind of timid. I disagreed a little bit because I thought they went for every game that I watched.
Most I felt like.
Yeah, I think they're
right
where they
deserve. That
they
directly
played with
reflects
the least amount of fear in all the games I felt like. And last thing I wanted to do was I wanted to ask you, Angel, about Chukwueze because he's another one. I know last episode I asked you about Jovic and how he had been struggling to get into the team. And Chukwueze was going through a little bit of a similar spell there. Now he's scored in back-to-back. I think back-to-back games. It is or back-to-back Champions League games. So
yeah, back-to-back Champions League. Yeah, and I'll throw Okafor into that group as well. Like I was saying, we haven't shown the strength of our squad, and it's very annoying because these are two types of players, Okafor and Chukwueze, and even Jovic, who you expected more. I mean, it shouldn't have taken 20 games into the season or thereabouts for these players to come in and really make their own imprint on the squad and take advantage of their chances, because someone like Christian Pulisic was poor. He was poor again today. He deserved to come off. And it's good to see that Pioli isn't afraid to go to the players, even if they're not fully performing. But yeah, I think I really can't be happier. I thought it was a total squad performance, and I think we showed our strength.
Yep.
Group, let's move.
Yeah. Group G. Unsurprisingly, Man City blow it out. Six wins straight. Managed to still be Zvezda with a B team, maybe even a C team. But that's Man City.
If you want to talk about youngsters too, I actually watched a decent amount of this game. I was incredibly impressed. I think this is the type of game where 5, 6, 7 years ago, the City probably goes away to Red Star with a B team and loses, but they do it with the young squad. Oscar Bob, first Champions League start, first goal. Micah Hamilton as well, first Champions League start, first goal. The future's bright for City. This is what happens when you win 5 or 6 out of the last 7 or 8 league titles. The youth kids want to be there.
Yeah, I say that a lot. Like we'll get
see
to
what they have to bring to the table.
Yeah, we'll get to these conversations. I say that
Rico
a lot.
Lewis as well starts and gets an assist.
Yep.
I mean,
when it comes to like youth academies, like when kids are kids, like they're impressionable. They see who's winning the leagues in their country. You know what I mean? Like I said, like Sporting, in the 90s and stuff, you see players in the 80s, you see Figu, Ronaldo, all those players coming out of the Sporting Academy. But then now, lately, you see Porto Benfica have crazy academy players. Why? Because they're winning the league and Sporting just isn't. But Man City, they dominate. And now you got these 17, 18-year-old kids that decided, hey, where's my future going to go? A club that's winning. And now
kids
you see
are
them
growing up as City fans.
It just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Micah Hamilton, there was that picture that went viral of him after the game. Pep Guardiola was talking to him in 2017. He was a ball boy on the sidelines for City. And Pep was telling him how to speed up the game and get the ball out faster for them. So I just thought that was pretty cool to see.
That stuff always makes me laugh, though, because not to take anything away from the development of this young player, but in my head, like, the tweets kind of skewed. Like, he wasn't just a random ball boy. He was probably already a youth academy player.
Right.
But that was
it's cool to see that he's still there and developing in the club. He didn't go. Like, you see that with Chelsea a lot with some of those kids. They grow up in the academy and then
chance.
Yeah, my point exactly. So, and I wanted to give a little shout out to Calvin Phillips. I mean, this guy he basically fell off the fucking face of the earth.
Yeah,
and he came in. I thought he had a pretty good game. Mateus Nunes too. He dictated play. I thought he was great going forward. I thought he was really influential.
Yeah, I miss him.
But Calvin Phillips, he scored that penalty at the end. That was the first time he's scored since he scored for Leeds against Crew Alexandra in the EFL Cup in August of 2021, which is kind of a crazy stat.
That'll be an extra $10 million on the January transfer fee.
Yeah, yeah.
And City too. I know we talked about United earlier having a bad record, but City set another good one. They're the first English team to have 8 consecutive UCL wins. So,
Wow.
Wow.
And that's including the final.
Right. Finishing off that group, Leipzig, obviously 12 points. Can't blame them. Obviously, only
Big
lost
for
to
the
yeah.
coefficients.
Yeah. We'll touch very briefly on that. How the best country to
especially
perform in
for
this will get those extra
change of
spots
format.
next year. Yeah, they'll get those extra spots next year.
Before we move on, I just want to shout out on Young Boys. Ibrahim Macaulay scored. He's the first Gambian to score in the Champions League. So shout out to him. Shout out to Gambia.
That's very cool.
Nice.
Very cool. Yeah, Leipzig, they'll perform second place as long as they get a decent seed. I think they could make a run. They're not a terrible team. Next group tied at 12 points. Actually, what was it? Head to head that set them apart. Porto has the better goal difference. I actually did not even notice that till just now.
Head to head.
Head to head. Yeah.
Head to head.
But Barcelona, despite sitting fourth in the league, obviously coming off the weekend against Girona, and then losing actually to Antwerp. So in a bad spell. Still topping the group, but obviously not in the way that they would want.
I wanted to say a little bit about Barca's performance in this game. I managed to catch a lot of it. Again, I mean, I saw them play Girona at the weekend. They were shambolic at the back again. I mean, it was just awful. They were standing off. They were allowing so much space. They really let Antwerp do what they wanted. And I have to say, Antwerp was the better team for 90 minutes. Like there were a couple of spells where Barcelona kind of got a foot in the game, and maybe 10-15 minutes they had some possession, some good periods. They scored twice, obviously, so obviously they did something. But I was pretty impressed with Antwerp's play. I mean, shout out Mark Van Bommel. Pretty cool manager matchup for the old heads. I mean, Xavi versus Mark Van Bommel. That used to be a good old midfield battle back in the day. So it was pretty cool to see that. And I mean, Barcelona would just crap again. I mean, Xavi said it after the game. They're not in a good spell right now. So it's interesting to see where they go from here.
I'm interested. Before we move on, I'm looking at the lineup, and I'm not going to sit here and say I watched Barcelona week in, week out, but did they field a poor team? Why did they go into that not being so sure about the first place position? I'm surprised they didn't just go for it.
Well, I think they knew because they had beaten Porto twice in the group that there was no.
They were ahead.
There was no threat of them losing that spot.
Right.
I wanted to highlight Antwerp. I actually wanted to show Antwerp a little bit of love, beating Barcelona at home. Yeah. I mean, that's an all-time achievement for those fans. They're coming off a high. They haven't had the best start to the Belgian league. I have been following it because I am a nerd. But they're the Belgian champions. They're coming off a historic league win. They won it on the last day. So I thought that was really cool to see them win and to see a goal from Arthur Vermeeren, youngster, 18 years old. I think he's someone who we could see make a big jump, maybe as soon as the summer. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a cool result.
Yeah, I was impressed with him in the game. I thought he was really influential throughout, especially in the first half. He had a big impact. Yeah. And Oriol Romeo had quite the stinker. He was at fault for a couple goals. So yeah, I think it was just one of those games for Barcelona. You know, they just didn't turn up.
Yeah, I think Antwerp could have used Arbner Muha, but that's just me and my that was me and my so rare team hoping he would play, but instead did not play. Any final thoughts before we move to that Europa League? A couple of games in there.
No, I'm good to move. Are you guys? Do you want to pick a dark horse now? Was there a team on the group stage who you were particularly impressed by?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just wanted to. I did say Sociedad earlier, so I'm gonna stick with them. But you had also shouted out your star of the week for the Champions League. I just wanted to say that mine was Di Maria for his performance. I know you kind of shit on him a little bit, but I was impressed with him. I thought it was good to see. I've always been a big admirer of Di Maria, and it was nice to see him show his true colors again and show a little bit of his old ways. So nice. That's my star of the week.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll throw an underdog at you. I'm gonna go with Dortmund. I know they won the group, but look, we went to Dortmund and played. I think Dortmund's a tough place to go for anybody. I wouldn't be too happy. I know once you get in the round 16, anything can happen, and you'll always favor yourself. But I like Dortmund to make a cup run, especially if they fall off the pace at the top of the league in the Bundesliga. They're already 11 points off. It could be something that they can focus on. So I think it'll be interesting. I would back them.
Yeah. Interesting, not a name you would normally say as a dark horse, but just because of the times, I kind of like Arsenal finishing first place. Their league performance isn't super good, but the way they've been playing, I mean, they went for goals, 16 goals scored, 4 conceded. I mean, in 6 games, conceding less than a goal a game, scoring an average of almost 3 goals a game. I mean, I think their European performance says that they could do something. If they don't do it in the league, I mean, Arteta is looking for some sort of consolation prize for his time there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
I would say I was going to just touch on Arsenal was playing ball in the whole Champions League, all 6 match days. I mean, forget it. Not so much a dark horse for me, but a team to watch as they did finish second and beat us. I would say Copenhagen. I think that they have a lot of fight. I mean, I don't think that, if a Bayern Munich, I mean, obviously, maybe not a Bayern Munich, but they can't draw them because they played in the same group. But for Real Madrid or, a Dortmund, whoever topped the group, you get them, it's not going to be an easy fight, right? Because, they're going to field their best 11 because, they're going to chase that. They're going to chase those winnings. So I just don't think that it's going to be an easy matchup for whoever faces them unless, it's a really, really top 5 team in the world. But for the other teams, I think they're really going to give them a run for their money. I mean, they just beat Galatasaray. They beat us. Gave Bayern a little bit of a run too.
Well, so it would not be simple going to Denmark.
You never know. I think they might scratch a game out in the group stage in the first leg. So
that'd be awesome.
I agree.
I think they showed in all of their games that it's difficult to go to Denmark in the wintertime and play. That's for sure. I mean, Galatasaray definitely struggled with it this week. So
look, I think when that draw was made, they wouldn't have. If you would have told them that they were going to score 8 goals.
Oh, I thought we were going to kill them. I thought we were going to beat them both times.
Everybody thought they were going to.
They went to Munich and tied 0-0, kept a clean sheet. Yeah, you didn't score, but you're in Munich. I mean, that is the Allianz Arena is something else.
That's
I really thought we were going to kill them. I didn't think they had a chance. I thought they were finishing bottom of the group for sure. I thought we were finishing second. I thought Galatasaray was finishing third. So for them to finish second is, they really did prove me wrong. And I really do think that they do have a little bit of a chance to move forward. Just with how much heart and, like G said, going in the wintertime, you never know how cold it is. They're really good with the conditions. Obviously, they play there. So it's always, it's like a rainy night in Stoke, right?
Yeah,
you never really know until you're there.
Denmark.
To put a bow on it, I do agree with G. I think despite being absent most of the season, Di Maria, a little biased for me, but saves Portugal some coefficient points. Sees Benfica into the Europa League. I also like for Milan, Chukwueze, I think, dude, with the likes of Rafael Leao coming back from injury and Pulisic in front of you as, pole positions for the wings, because, he can go in on either wing, I think. And then to come off the bench and score and win the game, essentially, for Milan, that's a huge performance and, trying to get his name on the starting 11.
Great point.
Yeah. So we'll move on. Europa League.
Wait, 1 second. Before we move on, can we talk about the new structure of the Champions League? Because I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, I think, quick. Yeah, go for it.
So basically, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but next season the Champions League is expanding to 36 teams.
36, yeah.
Right. And the way that the UEFA is going to be distributing the 2 points, or the 2 points, the two extra places, is that the best 2 league finishers and coefficient from this season will be awarded those 2 places.
Is it just in the Champions League?
Yes, just in the Champions League.
Yeah. I mean, I guess on paper it's a fair way to do it, but I don't know. It just
obviously that's
not for England.
It doesn't feel right.
Big ramifications for England, and I just want to say, I said this to Nate earlier. I think it's insanely poetic that United got knocked out of the Champions League, and so did Newcastle, and probably because of United's poor form in the Champions League, if they finish in 5th in the Premier League, they won't make the Champions League because they won't get the 5th spot.
Yeah.
So I just think that's I don't know, that kind of deserve it for.
We don't have to
be a storyline to look back at. Yeah.
We don't have to.
I don't really want to make Europe the way we're playing. So just gonna put that out there. I know if any of you Man United fans are listening, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell the truth. So I don't think we should make Europe. I hope we don't, because I don't want to get embarrassed again like that.
Yeah.
I mean, to lose to a Turkish team and to lose to a a team from
The
Denmark
Turks,
is
the Turks
absolutely
play for
fucking
blood.
disgraceful.
The
As
Turks
Speaking of
played
speaking
for
of Turkish
blood.
football, I just want
it's
to.
just so disgraceful. I mean, you're supposed to be Man United, right? You're supposed to be, we've literally won a European treble. Like it shouldn't even be a question, but it's just embarrassing sometimes to play in Europe. I mean, we went to penalties with Sevilla, lost because De Gea missed one. Like
Right.
shit like that is just
When will
it's
it
written
end?
in our history, and it's
When
just
will it end?
embarrassing at this point. So I think we need to really clean it up and get back out there. But if we miss Europe next season, I won't be too mad.
Yeah.
Rather start right in the Europa League spot, even if we were 6th or 7th. Honestly, I wouldn't even care.
I would like
Speaking
to
on
see
Turkish football, real quick before we move on, I just want to send some prayers out to that referee who was attacked this week
punched
in
him in the mouth.
that
Oh,
Turkish
yeah.
league game. I just want to hope everything's all right with him and he recovers well.
Yeah.
And they need to sort that shit out because no president should be coming on the field and putting their hands on anybody, and no player or anybody should be touching a referee like that.
Yeah,
because it's just bad for everybody all around. So.
When you're not in the situation, it's exciting to hear about all the the blood that they get shed, but obviously that's no place for that stuff. I personally quickly just want those. I would like those spots. A little biased to go to the smaller leagues. I think you know what I mean. So many of the top leagues already have 4 or 5 spots. It's a little ridiculous, but I mean I get it. They're the best. It's the best competition in the game, and they're the best leagues in the world. So it's shit how it goes. We don't have too much invested in the Europa League. We talked about.
Well,
our big
shit.
clubs. We got a couple.
Some of us do now.
Some of us do right. So some of the players that'll come out of the group. Freiburg and West Ham did well in Group A. Not too surprising, a little bit kind of like what you would expect from them, but still a great turnout. Group B, Brighton, showing that they can play in the Premier League well, like we talked about, and go into Europe and still perform top their group, finishing the group with 4 straight wins. I mean,
big up to Brighton. I mean, first European campaign, like we said last week, and top the group. That's a pretty big feat. I also want to shine a light on Joao Pedro. He is my star of the week for the Europa League. 6 goals in the whole group stage. He's the leading scorer in the tournament so far. Wow. And I just want to say, since he's come into Brighton's team, it shows another example of their great scouting and their great network of databases of players. They just know what they're doing. And it shows with every transfer they do. They never get it wrong.
Nope.
And he's another example of that. He's been shining since he's come into that team.
Yeah, and the fact that a team like that can go through injuries and not be the biggest club in the Premier League and perform better on paper than the Premier League clubs we just talked about.
Billy Gilmore had a great game as well. We talked about Chelsea Academy players a little bit earlier and them leaving. He's another one, but he had a pretty good game, I thought. But overall, I was kind of disappointed in this game. I mean, if we saw the games in the other match days from this group, I would have expected a lot from Brighton Marseille. But a little bit boring. I think both teams knew the outcome of the group was pretty much already decided for them. And we kind of saw that in the outcome. Brighton ended up getting lucky. They were second coming in, and they nicked the win in the end, and they go top. So good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say pretty quick. I think it's. I think this group really shows the power of the Premier League. I don't want to bring it up a money conversation, but there's 2 historic European teams in this group that Brighton have just topped. 2 teams that have won Champions Leagues multiple times, Marseille and Ajax. I think that's a wonderful achievement for Brighton to go toe-to-toe with 2 historic teams like that. Pretty cool.
Yeah. And I guess we can move on to the other game now because there really wasn't much else in that Brighton Marseille game, unfortunately. But the other game was pretty good. I mean, Chuba Akpom shined in this game. I managed to catch a little bit of it. He's been playing great. He's got 8 goals in his last 9 games in all competitions. Ajax are kind of making a little comeback on their season. I mean, they started off horrifically. They were doing terrible. I don't know if they were in the relegation zone, but they were pretty close to it at one point.
They were, I think they were 16th or 17th, if I remember correctly.
Struggling for sure.
I know they're working their way back up in their division, at least to keep their European dreams alive and move down into the Conference League. At least they can try and shoot for something because they're not going to make Champions League at this rate in the Eredivisie. So
right.
Personally, for my league to get back up to that 6th spot. I would love to see all these Dutch teams go down. But Ajax, obviously being a great club in Europe, love to watch them as a neutral.
Good to see them keep going.
Good to see them keep going. Absolutely. Group C, nothing overly exciting. Tight group though. The top 3 only separated between 1 point in each spot.
I have to disagree with that extremely because
extremely.
This was the group that I watched the most closely today.
Really?
And I thought both games
you're right.
were pretty good. Not so much the Slavia Prague game, but the Real Betis versus Rangers game was my game of the day. I thought this game was fucking fantastic. It was end-to-end from 90 minutes. This group as a whole, going into the day, Betis was top on 9 points. Rangers was on 8, and Sparta Prague were on 7. By halftime, the leader of the group had changed 5 times.
Wow.
So, and by that point in time, the Sparta Prague was in first place. They were level on points with Betis, who were both on 10. And their records and goal difference were the same. So the tiebreaker came down to away goals scored, which was putting Sparta Prague ahead, which is just absolute madness for the soccer nerds like us.
Yeah.
And Rangers ended up nicking it in the end. They won 3-2. Kamar Roof with the winner. I thought Isco was pretty good in this game as well for Betis. But it's just really cool to see Rangers. I mean, they're another historic team in Europe.
Right.
The Scottish side there to top the group. I mean, Celtic won yesterday. Rangers topped the group today. It's not a bad time to be a Scottish fan. So,
Rangers.
It was interesting. It was interesting too, actually. There was a point in the game in the second half when Betis and Rangers was tied, and at that point in time, Rangers was actually going to go out. They were about to be out of the Europa League in third, and when they scored the goal, it actually took them from third to first and put Betis into the Conference League. But it was an exciting game.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic, and like I said, I thought Isco was very good in this game. Shout out to a Premier League icon, Iosi Perez. He scored. I thought he had a pretty good game as well. Yep. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good overall.
Yeah, I might have misread that. I was getting a little excited to talk about the Sporting game.
Yeah, of course. Let's go.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, like, if we live in Rhode Island, you know about the traffic going on in East Providence. I was stuck in that when I first started watching the game, so I was already a little pissed off. Sporting did not start the game very exciting. It was kind of poor, a little sloppy, so I was getting pretty frustrated. But then we started to kick it around a little bit, play some good ball. Matheus Reis went up the left side, as he does so well so often. And Victor Gyökeres is just an absolute unit. I think it's something like 16 goals across all competitions, if I'm not crazy. And then Nasu coming off the bench and scoring 2, which he's making himself a really good presence in the box. Another good threat, obviously, outside of our main goal threat. Yeah, 16 goals in about 19 or 20 games for Victor Gyökeres with I think 7 assists. I mean, man's on fire.
Yeah, he's hit the ground running.
I absolutely love him.
Yeah, these are 2 teams that I think are dark horses for the competition. I mean, we'll go through the rest of the groups shortly, but there's some hitters in the Europa League this year, man.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an insane season.
Yeah, I mean, in the other game in this group, I thought Atalanta, I mean, they didn't play the biggest side in the world, but they were pretty impressive again. Yeah. Muriel almost, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Muriel almost replicated his back heel against Milan, which is just crazy because during the week this week, a clip went viral of him replicating it in training too. Yeah. So he's just one of those guys. I mean, he scored a brace in this game. So
such an interesting guy.
He just gets it done, you know?
Yeah, he does. When it matters. When it matters, always. Too. Yeah, a really exciting group. Obviously, Atalanta top it. Sporting didn't feel their strongest side, but I kind of like seeing a couple of the other players get some game fitness. And then we rotated some of the usual starters, but we needed to recover from this weekend, so it was a smack in the face. But at least we pulled through. Sturm Graz from the Austrian clubs, they come around every now and then. They didn't play poorly. It was 3-0, but I think they had a decent team. I think they'll do well in the Conference League. We'll see some of their opponents really quickly later. But the next group, Group E, where Liverpool topped the group. I think they were going to no matter what. Obviously, they lost. But Toulouse pulling it out. USG spanking around Liverpool, a B Liverpool team. But
I mean, heavily rotated Liverpool side.
Yeah, very much so.
USG were pretty good though in this game. I thought they were the better team throughout.
Thank God, I love it. Got
Shout-
some
yeah.
money invested in USG. I'm just kidding.
Shout out Jarrell Kwanzaa though, first Liverpool goal. So big ups to him. But
Yeah,
other
crazy.
than that, I mean, USG might be a little team to watch out for.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. They're
Conference
doing
League,
fantastic things in Belgium.
Conference League.
Smoking the league right now, top of the table. So, definitely an exciting team going into the Conference League. Conference League, obviously a weaker competition on paper. Not a bad way for them to get a little trophy.
Yep.
Quickly. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like the more I look at these groups, it's crazy to see Liverpool. In the competition, they finished exactly where you would have expected,
Right.
in first place. But I'm having a hard time trying to pick a favorite right now.
Yeah,
we'll keep going.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of who gets what matchup and who plays when at home, and it's going to be a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
The next group, Group F. I don't know if we have too much to say. I personally don't, because by the looks of it, I mean, Villarreal.
I want to talk about the Rennes-Villarreal game.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely. I think those two
this,
were the predicted winners, and they did. But yeah, go ahead, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going into the game, I mean, it didn't really mean much going into it. The group was pretty decided for both of these teams going into it, but they were fighting out for the top spot. Right. And this game was probably the pick of the bunch of the early games from 12:45. In my opinion, it was fantastic. It was end to end. I mean, there was really no defending from either side, and it was crazy because Villarreal opened the scoring, and then literally within a minute, Rennes responded. And then in the second half, Rennes took the lead, and then in a minute, Villarreal responded again. And then the end of the game was just insane because Villarreal would have lost or wouldn't have won. They would have tied because there was a free kick for Rennes. This was like the weirdest passage of play to see unfold, and I'll explain it because it just didn't really make sense at the time, and like the referees kind of fucked it up a little bit too, I thought. So Rennes had a free kick in stoppage time, and the player who took the free kick hit the crossbar. The ball came straight back to him. He laid it off to a player. There's a scramble. The ball falls to a player outside the box. I think it was what was his name? It was Assignon that scored in stoppage time.
For Rennes.
Referee calls it back on VAR. Initially, they said offsides, and that was wrong. The reason they called it back was the two-touch rule, because what had happened was the free kick taker was the first player to touch the ball after the ball struck the crossbar.
Right.
So therefore,
wow,
goal can't count.
That's crazy.
A rule you just don't see in pro ball, really.
Something you really do not see a lot.
No,
I thought it was really crazy.
Yeah.
And also, like, kind of another fuck up by VAR. I mean, they couldn't even say it right. They said it was offsides and threw everybody for a loop because nobody. I mean, they showed the replay a million times from the side, and everyone was like, "What are we calling here? Nobody's offsides in any passage of play."
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was pretty wild to see that was how they had the goal called back because of the two-touch rule. I mean, you really only see that if it gets called on a penalty kick. You never see it on a free kick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to touch too much on VAR. We could go another hour, but that's
Yeah,
my problem with VAR. That's just my problem with VAR. No communication. Roma's group. Run us through that really quickly. Obviously, the two teams that probably were expected to do. I would have expected Roma to top it, but you tell me why that went, how it went.
Yeah. So, going into the Champions League, Europa League season, I would have expected us to top the group too, but
then you
it didn't
realize
work out that way. Slavia Prague were actually pretty impressive, I thought, in the games that we played against them. They did beat us, so even if we had ended up tying with them, they would have taken top spot on head to head.
Yep.
Which is, but we'll see what happens. We're gonna go into the playoff, so we'll be playing a team that drops from the Champions League. So our fate is yet.
Oh, is that how it works as second place teams?
Yeah. So if for anyone who's not aware, the teams who drop down from third place in the Champions League are going to go into a two-legged playoff against the second place teams from the Europa League.
That's this season.
And you can't play a domestic team?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Milan Sporting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So Roma will be drawing a team that drops down from third place from the Champions League. Which
got you.
So that's this now. The last time you saw me and Angelo friends.
Yeah.
I can't believe we still didn't even get third place.
But yeah, in terms of a review for the game, I'll go through it real quick. I mean, Sheriff, I thought, really offered nothing to the game going forward. They had a couple half chances. Spieler made a couple of saves that were straight at him, but other than that, it was pretty much all Roma. We dominated the game throughout. Zalewski had a nice little assist to set up Lukaku to open the scoring. And we really just dictated the game from that. Belotti had a lucky rebound that he scored. That's a goal that he needed. He hasn't scored in 7 games. And considering we kind of need somebody that's going to score that's not named Lukaku or Dybala, it's nice to see him get on the score sheet.
Yeah.
And in the second half, Mourinho went to the kids, and it was really nice to see. It's something that he's been doing a lot since he's been at Roma, which is really not his forte or something that he's known for, which is bringing up the youth. But it's something he's been doing a lot with Roma, and I'm really happy with. And there's been a lot of kids that have shined and gotten places in the team because of it. Zalewski's one of them. Eduardo Bove's another. That kid runs his ass off every game. I love him. Yeah. And I see why Jose Mourinho does too, because he plays his heart out every game. And it was really nice to see. I want to put a spotlight on Nicola Pizzilli, Roma-born kid. He's got red and yellow in his blood. This kid, he's been a Roma fan his whole life, and he scored on his debut. He came in, and I thought, honestly, I was really impressed when he came in. There's been a lot of talk about this kid in the Primavera side, and you can see that he's very well respected in the club.
He's a midfielder or a forward?
He's a midfielder.
Okay.
Central midfielder. He's like a regista almost, I guess you would call him. But he came in and he was everywhere. He was not afraid to play the ball forward and take a chance. I think he had like 85 or 90% pass accuracy when he came on. He scored, obviously. He had a couple interceptions, a couple tackles. He only played 20 minutes, but he got stuck about, and I was really impressed. And something that really tells me that he's really well regarded in the club is that after the game, he came off, and every single player and every single coach involved with Roma came up to him and hugged him. Yeah, and I think that really shows that Roma have high hopes for this kid, and I do too, because I've heard a lot about him, and I'm really looking forward to it, because I think Jose is just the right type of manager to bring him to the next level.
Well, Jose Mourinho is the greatest of all time. You can put me down on saying that.
I'm Jose Mourinho.
And I will say, just quickly, before I put a bow on it, dude, Jose Mourinho is not one to play youngsters, really. He's usually, I like an old school player. I like someone with experience. I like someone with class. And he usually talks a lot of crap about some young players at the club. When he was at United, talked a lot of crap about the young players at the club because they weren't serious. But yeah, he has a lot of good things to say about the Roma. So that should be something, as a Roma fan, you should definitely look forward to.
And I think, what you said about the old players is a good point too, because I think he's using that experience that he has with them to his advantage with the young players. Because I want to make the example that Matic last year, he wasn't. He obviously, Matic is not the player he used to be. He was one of the best defensive midfielders in the world at one time. But last year he came to us and he had a big impact on the team, not only on the field but in the locker room. He was very influential with a lot of the young players, and I think Jose Mourinho had a lot to do with that, because Matic follows Mourinho everywhere. He goes everywhere that guy coaches. Yeah. So I think Mourinho really instilled it in Matic that he needs to look out for the young players and put an arm around them and bring them up and show them how to act and how to be on and off the field. And I think that Mourinho's really maybe turned a new leaf, I guess you could say, because he's really doing a lot with the youngsters for us. And I have to say I'm loving it.
I agree. I really do want to put a bow on it. So Bayer Leverkusen smoked the group, just like they're smoking the Bundesliga. Haven't lost in either competition. That's honestly fantastic. And in both competitions, they are the top goal scorer. I think in the Europa League, I don't think any other club scored more. There are great attacking football. It's super exciting. Another team that could, if they keep this form, will smoke the competition. I think they'll go right through to the final.
Yeah, have to be one of the favorites
if they keep it up. Yeah, obviously. So we'll go quickly to the Conference League. Obviously, a newer competition. This is the second iteration.
Third season.
Obviously very interesting. Only a couple big name clubs in here. We'll just highlight them quickly. Lille obviously topping their group. They could,
3 penalty kicks they scored in this game.
Really?
Real weird one.
That is an interesting one. But that's a club that, France is dominated by PSG, but every now and then they play really well. So if they get a good stretch of run games in this league, they can win it. You can't ever sleep on teams like Ghent from Belgium, Victoria Plzen, Dinamo Zagreb.
I think Victoria Plzen might be a team to watch out for. They went undefeated.
Those are strong and hard teams to go play away.
Tough place to go.
Yeah. Club Brugge, obviously. Besiktas, unfortunately, a Turkish club, maybe deserved, I guess, for all the drama that's going on over there.
Yeah, a couple red cards in that game. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think there was a fight in that game. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain started it, and he and Renato Steffen both got sent off. So tough one for them.
Yeah, Aston Villa won their group. Obviously, their Premier League form is described here in their Europa League form. Fiorentina wins their group. Awesome for the Serie A, of course. PAOK obviously wins their group. PAOK, whatever you want to call it. Not familiar too much with how to say that name. Frankfurt coming in second there. And then Fenerbahce squeezing out on goal difference in that last group. So a lot of those teams will be playing some of those drop downs from the Europa League. Should be a fun little competition to watch out for. Overall, a pretty good last day to the group matches.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it was wild all 3 days.
I think this is going to be a super exciting knockout stage. Once the things get drawn, we'll definitely do a video talking about all that. Monday? Well, in the next couple of weeks, we'll definitely do a video probably breaking down maybe each competition quickly.
Probably next week.
Yeah, something. You never know. We'll see. But it's been fun. Anybody have a last couple notes? Anything at all? Yes, Angela, please.
I do actually. I had a little segment idea. Unfortunately, our good friend Patrick here won't be able to participate, so that sucks. But I wanted to ask Nate and Jean-Luc, I wanted to ask you guys, how do you think your teams will fare in the knockout stages? What's the expectation? What will you be happy with?
I'll let you have the floor, G. Go ahead.
I think it's really going to be all down to who we draw. There's a couple of teams I'm scared of. A couple of teams I'd like to see us draw, but we'll see. If we can get through that, I don't think there's any reason why we can't replicate what we did last season and go back to the final. I mean, I think we have the squad to do it.
Because you'll be out of the Serie A race by probably February. So.
I think we're already out of it, to be honest with you. Yeah. At least winning the Scudetto, as far as that goes.
We'll be focusing on it with you.
I'll tell you this though: the game this weekend is going to play a big factor in if we make top four. So I think it's an important one for us.
How about you, Nate?
So it's a mixed bag for me because I feel good. Obviously, a couple of good performances, couple subpar performances, a little bit unlucky in a couple of occasions. But I think we have a good team. I think Ruben Amorim, this is his 5th season. I think he may not be here for too much longer, but I think he knows what he's doing. I think we have really good players. Victor Gyökeres, he's a consistent goal scorer. I mean, at the end of the day, that's how you win games, is scoring goals. I like our back line. I think the midfield needs work to control the game better in terms of the possession. My biggest fear, though, is the fact that as a club, we really try to focus on the league because it's historically we're just a troll club when it comes to the league a lot for the past so many years, and we want to do that. So if we keep that race, it's going to be hard to balance the two. However, we finished second, and it sounds silly, but like I said before, I think Sporting play up and down to their opponents. So we draw a really good team, a Milan, you know what I mean, a team that's going to play on the field. We like to play just up to that, and that means we'll have one of our better performances. And you have
a type of guy to get you result in Gyökeres in a big game like that. So
and if we can get him the ball in that area, I mean, most defenses in Europe, I think, would be wary to watch out for him, in my opinion.
From what I've seen of him, he strikes me as the type of player that can really win a game for a team.
Can totally win a game.
He gets the job done, and he scores all types of goals. So
my potential ex-friend, how about you? How does Milan look if we face each other?
Well, I think we have absolutely no excuse but to qualify, make it into the knockout round. I think, like Pioli said, this is a squad that we haven't shown anywhere close to what we're capable of, in my opinion. It's been kind of a lackluster season up to this point, and I think if we can get a good run in the Europa League, it's something that, look, would I prefer to run in the Champions League? Of course, but like we said in episode 1, it's funny how things work out, because this is the exact position that Milan should have been in going into this season, was in the Europa League. It's where we ended up. So I think we have no excuse but to at least qualify for the knockout stage. And then once you get in the tournament, it's all hands on deck. It's going to be fun. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams in here, like the group winners: West Ham, Brighton, Rangers, Atalanta, Liverpool, Villarreal, Slavia Prague, Leverkusen. I mean, there's a couple teams who are leading their respective leagues in Leverkusen and Liverpool in the Europa League. So I'm excited. I think the expectation is I want to make at least a semifinal. I think that would be fun.
I'm gonna make a hot take here. I think the Europa League knockout round is gonna be more competitive than the Champions League knockout
I
round.
do as well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought the same thing when I looked.
I think there's going to be a little bit sloppy games in the
That's
Champions League.
that's one of the points I wanted to make. I wanted to say that I think the Europa League is going to be really fun to watch, and I'm honestly not as a United fan how we always find ourselves there, but I think that the Europa League needs to stop getting disrespected so much because I mean we're talking about like
Great tournament.
teeth grinding matchups that end like bittersweet in the Champions League, and then they get dropped to the Europa League. And we're talking about, I mean, some of the best teams in the world. You know, like you said, Leverkusen and Liverpool are topping the league, and they're in the Europa League. Like, can't discredit them, and we can't discredit the competition. As you know, teams get unlucky, and they fall to the Europa League. Sure. You know, like, I mean, Milan, not to say that they're like, fantastic in the league, but, still a good team.
Right.
Ours, like Liverpool and Leverkusen. We're talking about Brighton, some real good teams that
respectable teams
are better than Copenhagen and maybe better than Dortmund, for example, right? And they're just in a different competition, and I think that it's pitiful to disrespect such a league, especially with the quality that we're experiencing now.
Right.
I agree.
100%.
Yeah.
Well said.
And a lot of those Champions League teams have a reputation to uphold, and they're too afraid to embarrass it a lot of times, and they won't go for it. And these bigger clubs have everything to gain and almost nothing to lose in the Europa League. Great conversation. Obviously, we're all excited for the upcoming playoffs and knockout stages. We hope you are. We will get back to you on our predictions about that. But as always, have a great night and keep on being a son of a pitch.
We'll see you next
Whistle
weekend.
blows.